Good morning, Dr.Dementia, State 469, Cat Alliance. Today I wanted to talk to you just a little bit about how important your smaller players are and what a large role they can play within your alliance. Sometimes we tend to, I guess the best word for it is overlook their importance. I mean, everybody likes a whale. Everybody likes a guy my size, but often we forget and we don't actually consider how important these smaller guys are and what their value is and what they bring to the alliance. So today we're going to do that just for a few minutes. It's short, it's reasonable, but it's something that's important and it will lead into my next video. So what is your value? What is the value of these people? Oh, hang on. Before we even start that, hey, look, if you find this reasonably informative, if you like it, if you find it something that you can share, then hit that like button, subscribe. I would really appreciate it. It certainly makes me more motivated, I guess is the best word, to make these videos. So subscribe, like, and share if you don't mind. I'd really appreciate it. Look, everybody respects and immediately sees the value of a whale. You know, the big bad guy that can pretty much take down 75% or 80% of the state. Okay? Well, that's all great and dandy, except there's a problem with that. They really and truly, they can't do it alone. They can't last alone. And it's a lonely life alone, I would assume. I've never been that way. But what's realistic here is looking at the fact that even though you respect that whale and you want these big players in your alliance, the reality is the small players mean a lot. So for those of you that are small, what's your value? Well, you think about it for a second about what do you contribute. Well, first off, you're a participant in all of these infected rallies. Hey, you know what? That makes for bringing in more damage and it makes for getting better results. You contribute in all of the events because the smaller players are generally the free-to-play or mostly free-to-play, and without participating in the events, they can't get the points and the rewards necessary to continue to grow in their free or mostly free state. All right? You can't be around 24/7 as a whale. You just can't do it. You're one person. You can't spend your entire life in the game. You can't spend every hour of the game in it. All right, and finally, you can't respond, and that's not an unreasonable. I mean, these are just the facts, and you need to pay attention to the facts because they are what they are, whether you like it or not. They are what they are. You know, you may not like having to deal with that little headquarters 30 or headquarters 28 that's growing, that has questions. And it seems like, God, I've answered that question like a dozen times now. Well, shit, haven't you figured out by now that if I start a rally with one troop, it's a fake rally? All right? Yeah, well, maybe you should be a little bit more considerate and understanding because, quite frankly, even though you may not have the time of day for somebody like that, you better make the time of day. You better have an alliance that sees the contribution that these guys give. They're around 24/7. They're keeping your alliance chat active so that those people that are online aren't bored and want to move on somewhere else. I mean, think about it for a second. Here's a guy that's a Plasma 1 or an HQ30 or whatever, or even an HQ15. But they started with the alliance, and they've grown, and they've been a steady contributor, and one day they're going to be a powerful enough player to make a difference, to contribute in the power. And wouldn't it be a shame? I mean, really, wouldn't it be just stupid to sit there and put the time and effort in the beginning and not continue that time and effort? I mean, here it is. You provide a home and a base and everything else and support, and yet you ignore them so much they move on to someone else. Big fucking mistake. Big mistake. All right? That social aspect that you provide is part of the reason that these people play the game. And that sense of family that you provide is part of the reason that people play this game. These smaller players, they mean a lot. And you should consider that. Okay? They're good with the secondary targets. Okay, during state versus state, or during state versus state, they can be on that back line beating the shit out of the invaders, or beating the shit out of the bubble wall or reinforcers. Okay? These are important things. It's nice when your opponent doesn't get unlimited reinforcements. I mean, I've seen Plasma 1s and Plasma 2s port the crap out of other people. We have some really great players here at CAT, and they work together. And that's what you need to have, because we don't ignore our smaller players. We don't want to ignore them, and we want to see them grow. All right? There's the bunkers and the fortified fortresses and the alliance centers and analysis centers, and there's everything that goes along with that. You can't be awake 24/7 to monitor them. You can't be awake all the time to see how it goes. You can't be awake to provide support all the time. And even when you are awake, are you sitting in front of your computer that much? You have such a little life that you don't have you don't have anything else to do. You don't have friends you can go out and have a drink with, or relatives, or, going by, visiting mom, dropping by for dinner at your siblings, or I don't know, whoring around, whatever you want to call it. Get a life. And if you have a life, then you need these smaller players, because they help find those solutions. They help provide for those particular instances. Okay? Every point counts. What about trap? What about PZ? What about having the ability to generate those rallies? For instance, in trap, now every now and then there's a bug in trap where you can create more than one rally, but that's far and few between. I test it every time I'm in trap. I've only come across it twice. So with that being said, I can only generate one rally, but I can put 6 marches out on top of that one rally. So I can have 7 marches, and I've got the troops to do it with. Well, if I don't have the smaller players making marches, then I can't put 7 out. And if there's 4 or 5 of us putting 7 out, well, all of a sudden, all the rallies are full. I've got troops and I've got marches, but I've got no rally to fill. You need those people. And what about PZ? Even the higher guys that are free to play or partially free to play, they need those parts. They need those rewards. They need everything that goes with all of these events. And you can't do it with just the big players. Every single point counts. This is a game of attrition, and that attrition is calculated by how much you participate. It simply is. If you don't have participation, you don't gather. It's the difference between getting 700 hero gear parts, and getting 1,200. It's the difference between 4 or 5 fragments and 2. And these are things you need to keep in mind, all right, when it comes to hunting the hunter. Now, I know for many of us, we're way beyond that. We don't need to hunt the hunter. But when we did, we needed those people with those rallies to be able to go after it, with those Travis points to get him up to general, with the fragments. We needed those things. And it certainly allowed us to spend money somewhere else rather than there. Isn't that important? Do you see the role that these smaller players play? Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes they aggravate the shit out of me. Okay? And, I'm going to offend some people in my own alliance when I say that, because they're going to say, gee, I pissed Dementia off. He doesn't care for me. That's not it at all. All right? When I say that aggravates the crap out of me, what I mean by that is that I have to slow my game down in order to spend time. And I don't like it. But you know something? I recognize I need to do it. Now, what's better here, at CAT, we have an advantage. All right? It may be an advantage that you have as well. And at CAT, we have leadership that makes sure that opportunity exists. And that's important. All right? So, you've got to be in an alliance that understands the value of these people. You've got to be in an alliance that recognizes that. And then you have to be part of that. You can't set aside and not do it. You just can't. You absolutely cannot. All right? You've got to have them there. And here's a perfect example. Although I've pushed over and over and over that, especially during Capital Clash, at least one tower be reserved for headquarters 30 and under, so that they can fight and learn to fight. They need to learn to run their own rallies, because when they get to P3, all right, or even P1, they need to be able to run those rallies. So when it comes to state versus state and they're on that back line attacking those reinforcers, they're experienced. They've already got it going. You don't have to take a break in the battle to try and explain to Joe or Susie or whatever. There's a million names in a million countries. Hey, you need to do this. But you've got to give them those opportunities to learn. And I am not a patient person. My career has been always one that's been based on, unfortunately, critical decisions made with short timing. So I've come used to that. It's not a good situation in a game that requires calculation. All right? So, with that being said, how important are these guys? They're very important. How important are you? What's your value as a smaller player? It's significant. More than you think. Don't underestimate your value, number one. And then number two, more than that, don't underestimate where you're going. Now, all of that being said, I'll give you a final piece of thought here. The smaller players that don't participate, the guys that come online twice a week, they're there for an hour. They don't have time otherwise. then you have to do a personal evaluation of that as an alliance. These are good people, but perhaps they just don't participate enough. The reason that I say this is only because you're limited to 100 members per alliance. And with that limitation, you have to have participation, active participation. Now, I don't care if the guy's got 100 million BP. I don't give a shit. If he's not active, or she is not active, then replace them with somebody else's. Participation is everything. Think about this. How you want to know the value of these people? You want to know the value of the smaller players? On average, I will bet you have less than 40 people out of an alliance of 100 that show up for SVS or CC at any one given time. 40 or less. Imagine if you had another 20 just tapping away while you heal. Imagine if you could recycle wounded troops that fast. That's how valuable the smaller players are. Oh, I'm just a headquarters 28. I can't beat up anybody. No, you can't. You're going to be hard pressed. But you can join rallies. You can add numbers to that attack. Even though they're not powerful, they're numbers. And the algorithms that King's Group uses are based on numbers. You will have a fractional contribution. Secondarily to that, recycling those troops for wounded is critical in those events. Absolutely critical. When you're sitting in mid, when you're in the middle, and you're taking cannon fire at 2% loss per cannon, and it's cycling every 2 to 3 minutes, all right? You need to be able to heal as fast as you can without digging into your backpack, without digging into those healing or bios or speed ups or whatever. That's money out of your pocket. Even if you're a free-to-play player, that's money out of your pocket because it could be replaced otherwise. That's how important these players are. My recommendation is that you organize those players so that you have 4 or 5 of them at any given time minimum during CC and SVS. They play a huge impact. Because once your hospital's full, you start taking kills. Your losses. You got to rebuild. Or you're going to have to wait for enlistment. Or one of the other events. All right? These people are important. So what's your value? Your value is significantly more than you think when it comes to actual in-game mechanics. What's your value when it comes to being a part of the alliance and the social fabric? Much greater than you think. Because your chat in alliance chat, all right, your participation in alliance chat keeps the conversation going and keeps people from being bored and keeps people from saying, my alliance just really doesn't do much of anything when it comes right down to, keeping me awake while I play. There's no laughing. There's no joking. There's none of this. Our alliance chat's full of that. Don't get me wrong. We have dead spots here and there. Okay. But because we're geographically dispersed and because we are across multiple timelines, languages, and cultures, 8 out of 10 times there's something going on in chat that keeps people active. So your value is significantly more than you think. What you need to do is be in an alliance that motivates that and contributes to your ability to grow and appreciates it. So, with all of that being said, I appreciate our smaller players. I may not always say it, I may not always act like it, but I do, because you're an integral part. You're a very valuable part of the alliance. And some alliances don't see it that way. But CAT does, thank God. And thank God leadership does, because otherwise, I'm a terrible leader. I really and truly am. I have the patience of a rock, okay? But you are appreciated. So, please like, subscribe, keep me motivated. My next video is either going to be Reservoir League versus UNS, or my favorite rant, my favorite final warning, and something that every member in every alliance should take a hard look at, because I can't believe that we're the only alliance in all the states that has this issue. We have an issue, and I don't like it. And we have an issue. It's not just it's not so much an alliance issue as it is a state issue where other alliances are pissing me off. And that's going to be a very fun video. So, like, subscribe, appreciate it. Your comments, always, I'm absolutely welcome. Those of you that are trying to scam, I get so much scam email, it's just ridiculous. Those of you that are trying to scam for the app gallery, please take me off your list. You're worthless, okay? I'm just an average player, just doing the average thing. Have a great day, and thanks. Bye.